Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Hachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders in Great Millstone who rule well, teach well, with sincerity, honesty, and integrity. The brothers who's laboring this truth, putting their life on the line, especially in these times. Salutations to you brothers and you very few sisters who believe in this truth wholeheartedly and sincerely. Shalom to the hopeful elect. All right. Through the spirit and power, Yahbashim Yahushua would let me to do this lesson. Earlier today, I was listening to one of the epistles from the Elder Ariyah out of the Dallas camp, Great Millstone, Dallas. And he had a lesson going over. He shared something about on the YouTube channel Redacted. And again, like he said, it's definitely a channel you should go ahead and go subscribe to. It's called Redacted. You know, they have some information on there. You know, you chew the meat, eat the meat, and spit out the bones. But there's some useful information on there. All right. Well, one of the things I was already seeing a few things on, but I want to just do a lesson, a little bit on that. I seen a few articles, and we're just gonna get to it. All right, so this is the Los Angeles Times, published December 23, 2022. So about a month ago. It said, op-ed, don't be too tempted by Europe's plan to fix social media. All right, for many Americans, social media has become a monster. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube are seen as festering hotbeds of hate and misinformation that threaten the very foundations of American democracy and civility. Calls for regulation have intensified, with some prominent voices looking across the pond for a model to regulate social media in the public interest. In November, the European Union's Digital Services Act took effect, with enforcement beginning for some businesses during the next year and for the rest in January 2024. The stated purpose of the law is to end the supposed Wild West of the internet and replace it with a rules-based digital order, you see, across the EU's member states. So there go that word order, digital order, rules-based digital order, you see. The sweeping piece of legislation includes an obligation for platforms to evaluate and remove illegal content such as hate speech as fast as possible. It also mandates that the largest social networks assesses and mitigate systemic risk, which may include the nebulous concept of disinformation. This is in the stark contrast to the U.S., where platforms enjoy broad immunity from responsibility from content created by users, and where the First Amendment protects against most government restrictions of speech. The European law, by contrast, may sound like a godsend to those Americans concerned about social media's weaponizing against democracy, tolerance, and truth after the 2020 election and January 6th insurrection. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton enthusiastically supported the European clampdown on big tech's amplification of what she considers disinformation and extremism, you see. So now you have these U.S. prominent people backing that European Union's legislation that they just passed, right? And of course, Hillary Clinton, who's been tied to many things that can discredit her reputation, like the Pizzagate and other things as well. Epstein's Island and those things that people may her being a lot of things, man. Bottom line, so she those things to her is disinformation, misinformation, any information that's not aligned with what they propose, then it's misinformation and disinformation. And just to land back on that, it's like the elder was saying, it's like what it's a fine line between that, because they're able to decide what is misinformation and disinformation. It's a very vague line, and that's what they want. They want to be able to control the narrative, and then if you're not speaking according to what they want you to speak, then they can eventually prosecute you for it. All right. They start off with fines, but then eventually they're gonna get to the point where they're gonna want to prosecute you for it. All right. So let's go back. One columnist in the New Yorker hailed the Digital Service Act as a roadmap for putting the onus on social media companies to monitor and remove harmful content and to hit them with big fines if they don't. But when it comes to regulating speech, good intentions do not necessarily result in desirable outcomes. In fact, there are strong reasons to believe that the law is a cure worse than the disease, like to result in a serious collateral damage to free expression across the EU and anywhere else legislators try to emulate it. Removing illegal content sounds innocent enough. It's not. Illegal content is defined very differently across Europe. You see? So that's where that vague line is. In France, protesters have been fined for depicting President Macron as Hitler, and illegal hate speech may encompass offensive humor. Australia and Finland criminalize blasphemy, and in Viktor Orban's Hungary, certain forms of LGBT alphabet boys propaganda is banned. The Digital Service Act will essentially oblige big tech to act as a privatized censor on behalf of governments, censors who will enjoy wide discretion under vague and subjective standards. You see, add to this the EU's own laws banning Russian propaganda and plans to toughen EU-wide hate speech laws, and you have a wide-ranging, incoherent, multi-level censorship regime operating at scale. The obligation to assess and mitigate risk relates not only to illegal content, though lawful content could also come under review if it has any actual or foreseeable negative effect on the number of competing interests, including fundamental rights, the protection of public health and minors, or civil discourse and electoral process, and public security. What this laundry list actually means is unclear. What we do know is that the unelected European Commission, the EU's powerful executive arm, will act as a regulator and thus have a decisive say in whether large platforms have done enough to counter both illegal and harmful content. You see, so she's going to have discretion to choose, right? You don't have to be a psychic to predict that the commission could use such ill-defined terms to push for suppression of perfectly lawful speech that rubs it. You see, so they can come at you with however they want, all right, or influential member states the wrong way, all right. For instance, Thierry Breton, a powerful European Commission responsible for implementing the Digital Service Act, has already taken aim at Twitter, now run by Elon Musk. Last month, Breton gave Musk an ultimatum: abide by the new rules or getting banned from the EU. Such moves will only lead to excessive content moderation by other social media companies. Most large platforms already remove a lot of lawful but awful speech. You see how it goes? Lawful but awful speech. They already move, and brothers already experiencing that, right? But given the legal uncertainty and the risk of huge fines, platforms are likely to further err on the side of safety and adopt even more restrictive policies than required by the new law. And see, so they're gonna, just to make sure that they don't get fined, they're gonna be very it's gonna be have very extreme. They're gonna be the ones extreme with their restrictive policies, man. All right. So what you're able to say is not gonna be I think there's only a few more left in this article. We'll finish it up. All right. And yeah, restrictive policies than required by the new law. In fact, Musk, the Digital Service Act, very sensible, signaling his intent to comply in response to Breton's warning. This flies in the face of Musk's techno-optimistic commitment to only remove illegal content and his condemnation of old Twitter's untransparent dealings with politicians and government officials seeking to influence content moderation. So why should Americans care? The Europeans' policies do not apply in the U.S., but given the size of the European market and the risk of legal liability, it will be tempting and financially wise for the US-based tech companies to skew their global content moderation policies even more toward a European approach to protect their bottom line. So what's their bottom line? That's their code. That's another way saying their money. So they're gonna make these restrictive policies because they're gonna have a global restrictive policy so they can be in line with all the EU and other countries, other countries and nations policies, man. So even if you're here in America, you're gonna still be under those guidelines because they're just gonna have a global guideline. All right, so like YouTube and those things, right? And a convenient excuse when platforms, bottom line is streamline their global standards. Referring to European legal standards may thus provide both formal legitimacy and a convenient excuse when platforms remove political speech protected by U.S. law, and that Americans would accept private platforms facilitating public debate to safeguard too. You see, so they're going to use that as an excuse, like, hey, this is our global restrictions. So they can say, hey, yeah, we know you have the First Amendment right to free speech, and that's on the borderline of hate speech, but we're going to use this global restriction to stop you from, they're going to use that to say, hey, you can't do this. But the result could have subject American social media users to moderation policies imposed by another government constrained by far weaker free speech guarantees than the First Amendment, you see? And American politicians may unwisely find the Digital Service Act approaching appealing. They're going to like that. It's going to find it appealing, right? Rep. Adam B. Schiff, D. Burbank, recently demanded that Twitter take action against alleged increases in hate speech, while Republican lawmakers in Texas have proposed a bill banning minors under 18 from social media. Americans cast off the fetters of the old world long ago. They should avoid having to do so again. You see, but bottom line, man, they right before your eyes, they're putting in legislation to take away from those constitutional rights, those First Amendment rights, all right? But and you're seeing it right before your eyes. They're ripping the Constitution, like, literally in front of your eyes, all right? And they do it by writing in all these little legislation to combat. And that's why you see these things that's happening in the world. These are psyops, so they can have an excuse to do certain things. All right, and that's a topic for another day. But this is another one. This is top EU bureaucrat predicts hate speech laws coming to the U.S. So they remember we just talked about it. That was a December article. In November they passed their Digital Order Act, right? So this is published January 17, 2023, in the midst of the World Economic Forum. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And this, I'm gonna just breeze through this, but a top European bureaucrat on Tuesday predicted that laws prohibiting so-called hate speech, right, which have already been implemented across Europe, will soon be imposed in the United States. You see, she predicted that there's going to be those same laws we just discussed in the previous article. This is what she says: illegal hate speech, which you will have soon also in the U.S. I think that we have a strong reasons why we have this in the criminal law. You see, it's going to be a criminal law, not just imposing fines. It's going to be criminal, okay? And Vera Jourova, Vice President for Values and Transparency at the European Commission, said at the World Economic Forum, the European Commission is the executive arm of the EU. Illegal, and this is her talking about it right here, illegal hate speech, which you have soon also in the U.S. I think that we have a strong reason why we have this in the criminal law. All right, and you can check that out, that little video. I'm gonna just, here go. In December, a New York law called the Social Media Hate Speech Accountability Act went into effect, mandating that any social media site that operates in the state must establish a public channel for users to report so-called hate speech. And where's the apostles and elders? The apostles, right there in New York. And it's no surprise New York is the capital, what you would say, of America. All right. So things that happen in New York will eventually happen in the neighboring states and to across the country, man. All right. The legislation also obliges the platform's owners to respond directly to anyone who uses it, with the penalty up to $1,000 fine if they refuse. All right, I'm gonna just get to a part I seen earlier. Okay, I think that's a little bit more. So bottom line, what you've seen in that article is coming to a city near you, man, a state near you, where eventually, man, they're coming at the ones that's coming out with the information, and more importantly, this gospel, man, because that's going against their morals and their what they want to build their new world order, man, where it's total control, man, and they want everybody to be asleep. So we're gonna go into a few scriptures, and then we're gonna end it there. Try to bring that out. All right. So first, we're gonna go to the old goodie. Matter of fact, there's one more thing I wanted to see in here. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted. This concept of preserving public safety even under the ban of free speech is actually something we accepted for a long time. You get taught in school that yes, you are allowed free speech, but not crying fire in a crowded theater, Moulton said. So basically, and that came from this. The fire in a crowd theater analogy, often cited to justify speech restrictions, refers to a 1919 Supreme Court opinion which argued that anti-war speech in wartime is like falsely shouting fire in a theater and causing a panic. However, the court distanced itself from that reason decades ago and did not declare it a binding legal principle. The point I'm making is like certain things you say is like, okay, you have the rights for freedom of speech, but that's not something that we consider freedom of speech, but we consider that as hate speech. All right. And what we're talking about, the downfall, the prophesizing the downfall in America, everything that's contrary to Yahweh, what Yahweh Shah, is considered hate speech. Letting you Israelites know, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, that you are the true chosen people of Yahweh, the Most High. That's considered hate speech, man. And that's something that's threatening to their new world order, man. So when you go into Amos, and you already know Amos 8:11, all right. Behold, the day is come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord Yahweh. And we seeing this right now, man. We're in a beautiful time. Matter of fact, right here, unprecedented, never done or known before, man. And as the scripture says in Daniel 12:1, it's gonna be a time we haven't seen since there was a nation. We're in unprecedented times, man. Right now, we're seeing the prophecies coming to pass, man. And what was the spirit of the Lord put on the elder apostle Tahar? The hopeful year of the prophecies coming to pass, man. And we seeing it. This is a great time to be alive, man. Like it says, this is unprecedented times, man. And that's what that's what I'm gonna name this epistle, man. This is the time we're living, and we're seeing this happen right before our eyes. A famine, not a famine of bread, not a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. And we're gonna see that also, but we're emphasizing the famine of the words of the Lord, man. right? When you go into right here, matter of fact, we're gonna get that later. When you go right here, it's saying the same thing, but in a different account. Let's get it. Ezekiel 3. Let's go to 26. And I will make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth, that thou shalt be dumb, and shall not be to them a reprover, for they are a rebellious house. So bottom line, man, if you're not coming to get this, if you're not coming to the water and you drinking at the fountain, you're not drinking this water of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, this living waters from his fountain, then he's gonna make you, he's gonna shut down the prophets eventually, man. And that grace period that you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans got, you know, which is of Israel, that grace period is shutting up, man. It's closing up, man. And when you're gonna look to seek for a prophet, you're not gonna find one. Matter of fact, you can see that in Proverbs, man, because you're seeing what they're doing. They're gonna make it a crime, and it's gonna be a time where, you know, brothers gonna get that order where it's no longer gonna be on them highways and byways, man. Spiritual, coming from the order from the Lord. All right, you see it right there. That's an order from the Lord that's going to happen. All right, Proverbs. Let's go to 1, and I'll just get straight to the point. Okay, right here. Okay, I'll start at you gotta start at the I'll start at the point 24. Proverbs 1 and 24. Because I have called and ye refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. And how is he doing that? By the prophets, the mouthpiece of the Lord. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and when none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. You see, so when you had the stretched hand from the mouth from the Lord, which is that grace period, you didn't want no parts of it. You didn't want nothing to do with it, right? But you see, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. So that's that rebellious house, man. For that they had hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord Yahweh. They were none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices. All right. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whosoever hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely. See, that's the name of the Lord is a righteous tower. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and it's safe, right? Unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. You see? So that's what the Lord is going to provide for his men of the Lord, man. All right? And when the men of the Lord, they depending on when these times come, man, they're not going to be out there. They're not going to be out there prophesying. We're going to be in a whole different time frame, man. We're going to be in a time of things ramping up, you know, Jacob trouble, right? It's not going to be the time, brothers. And even though wherever they go, you know, the Lord, brothers going to still exalt the Lord, you know, because that's what's embedded in us. But it's not going to be how as you see it right now, man. As thus saith the Lord, that you see in the scriptures, as we just read. There's going to be a famine of the word. So he's gonna stop the mouth of the prophets, right? And then you're gonna have, then you see because the Lord, and then because there's gonna be a heavy persecution upon those that fear the Lord, that you get in 2nd Ezra 16, right? They're gonna be those who fear the Lord. There's gonna be a heavy persecution on those, right? So that's what you've seen in the article, that eventually it's not going to be the time. It's a time and place for everything. It's not going to be the time to be prophesizing on the streets, on the highways and byways. That's going to be the time of that heavy persecution coming down from those who fear the Lord. They're going to be like madmen, sparing none. All right? Because they're going to deem us as extremists, criminals, right? Because you see, it's going to be criminal, right? Because we're talking against the wickedness and the fabric of this place, man. And as we doing so, we're ushering in another way of living, which is the way of Yahweh Shai, man, which is going to be ultimately the king, Yahweh Shai, coming to take his throne, man. They don't want to hear that, man. That's hate speech, man. All right? So don't be surprised, man, that this shit starts speeding up, and these epistles that you're hearing, you no longer be able to hear them, man. That's why it says, when something's hot, you get it while it's hot. Right? Because eventually, man, it's not going to be ready. It's not going to be as available as you think so. All right. Let's go ahead, because like what it says, let me go, you know what? I'll go there first. I'll go Revelations 2:10, right? Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So that's the men of the Lord. That's the next phase for the men of the Lord in that time, right? They're gonna be cast into prison. They're gonna be, they're gonna be coming, like I said, madmen sparing none, for those who fear the Lord. All right. But see, this is what men of the Lord, this the type of energy they're going to bring if they're true men of the Lord. Even you few women, but mostly the men of the Lord, because the tabernacles with men. All right. And they're going to look to, those are the ones who's preaching and prophesizing, the men. But you few women, because they're going to, the whole world's going to be tried. Right. But even you few women who's firm on what you believe, there's going to be those who's around you like, yeah, she's one of those believers as well. All right. But mostly they're going to come after the men who's teaching his word, because that is what's casting down these strongholds. That's what's breaking like the scriptures, that's circling the walls of, spiritually circling the walls of Jericho, which is now. All right. This is this place is going to fall, man. All right. Let's go. Yeah, that's what I had. Matter of fact, I had it set up right here already, but I'll go back. Mark 13, and I'll start at 9. But take heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to councils, and in the synagogues ye shall be beaten, and ye, matter of fact, and ye shall be brought before the rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them. And the gospel must first be published among all nations. But when they shall lead you, see, because again, that's what they're saying. We're going to be brought before, and who's going to be the ones the first or quick to point you out, man? The people that's right next to you, man. Right? The people right next to you, your loved ones. Some of your loved ones, you think that, they're going to be on, they're going to choose their side. All right? It's going to say that further in this chapter. Hold on. Yep. And the gospel must first be published among all nations. But when they shall lead you and deliver you up, take no thought beforehand what ye shall speak, neither do ye premeditate. But whatsoever shall be given you in the hour, that speak ye, for it is not ye that speak, but the Holy Spirit. All right. And that's for you brothers, man. Don't give no thought. Don't premeditate. The Lord's going to put what he need to put in your mouth. And, the Lord, if you depend on the Lord and put all your trust in the Lord will see you out of it. Or you may be one of those brothers that may be beheaded for the Yahweh Shai's namesake, man. All right? All right? And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. You see? But he that shall endure... No matter of fact, I skipped the verse. Verse 12. Now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, and children shall rise up against their parents. See, so this, you're going to have people in your own household, people And they're gonna be the ones that's gonna rise up against you to point you out to the kings and the rulers of this place, to get you to put you either in those prisons or put you to death. All right, and ye shall be hated of all men. It's like, right? I didn't rise up. Children shall rise up against their parents and shall cause them to be put to death. You see, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. All right, so that's the time we're heading in, man. The time where this word is slowly, you know, is and a matter of fact, is faster than we seeing it now, but it's soon gonna fade away, right? Where the prophets is no longer gonna be prophesizing and preaching, right? And then you see the persecution of the prophets, man. See, we're moving to a different phase, man. Prophecies, like the scripture says, and at the end, the prophecies shall speak. And we're seeing it speak right now, man. We're in an unprecedented time right now. All right, and it's a beautiful time because we getting closer and closer to seeing our King Yahweh Shah, you know, take his throne, man. Take his throne here on earth. All right. So with that, man, I pray this lesson was edifying. Shalom to the whole 411.